crafty friends, it's Tina from the Scrappin Rabbit blog, and I have a fun project and tutorial to share with you guys today. So a few days ago on my blog I had featured this cute little Foxy box, and look at how cute she is. So you open her up, I use some Velcro, and look at all that room you have for the nice little goodies. Well, I'm attending a little crafty mini meetup with some of my girlfriends who I haven't seen basically all this year. It's just been crazy times for me, but I'm getting together with them, and so the theme is woodland critters, and I wanted to make them something special, so I put together I'm actually going to put together a bunch of little boxes. And so this is a cute little SVG from SVG Cutting Files, and I will leave the link to that cut in the description box below. And as you can see, I've been crafting a lot. I have ink all over my hands and everything. But I needed to stop and I needed to get these goodie boxes done. So I'm not going to have time to go over how it works on the Cricut, which is what I use, but just know that I went on there, I uploaded the SVG, and I sized it to be 11.5 inches. And so when I cut them out, this is what it looks like. This is the box part, and I have all of my layers here as well. And so this fits on the mat, a 12 by 12 mat, and it cuts out 11.5 inches, which I think makes a perfect box. And it is about, I believe, let's see, it is 3 inches high and 1 and almost 3/4, about 1 3/4 depth, and then the width is about 3 inches. So it's a 3 by 3 box, and like I said, I sized it at 11.5. When you have a lot of SVGs don't upload into Cricut Design Space at the size that they're intended, and since I didn't know what size was intended for this box, I just went ahead and sized it to be like this. And then with the layers, I sized the head to be the same width as the box. If you look at the SVG in the shop, it's a little bit smaller. So you would just need to decide which look you prefer. When I did it, I wasn't looking at the picture, and so this is just what I came up with. So I went ahead and I cut all of my layers out, and this is what they look like. And the one thing that I did was I took this tail piece and I made it smaller, and I fit it into the ears because the ears didn't have a little layer and I wanted an ear layer, and so that is what I did to get the ear layer. And I cut all those little ears out, and where did I put them? Oh, I put them right here. So I cut these little mini tail pieces to put inside the little ears, and then the little nose, I just made it a little bit more round. And then that is how I got this little look. I also die cut out some banners from Jaded Blossom, and this is the mini tag dies 2. It's the little flag banner. I cut out the little hearts to add here out of some red glitter cardstock, and that is from the Jaded Blossom banner dies. And then I also went ahead and I made a bunch of little bows, and I did some with the gold and then some just plain red because I couldn't decide which one I liked best, so I went ahead and I made both. So I also stamped and embossed this sentiment for my Foxy friend using the Jaded Blossom Forest Friends, and for my Foxy friend is right there. And I love these sentiments because they fit really nicely on the mini tag dies. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do to put this box together is I'm going to go ahead and ink, and if you can see on here, I inked around the edges to give it some more depth. I always like to do that. I think that it makes my die cuts pop out a little bit more. And I'm going to use this Distress ink by Tim Holtz, and it's the tea dye ink. And I have an applicator here that's been used quite a bit. And so basically all I'm going to do is just for my layer pieces, I'm just going to grab the ink and I'm just going to go all around just like this. And I'm not going to videotape myself doing this because it's going to take me a while to get all of these pieces done. But as you can see, I'm not really spending a ton of time doing it. I'm just going to go and ink all the little layers just like this. And once I have that done, I'll be back and then show you how to fold the box up together. So I have all of my layers inked, and now I'm going to go ahead and emboss, heat emboss my sentiment. So I have my sentiment on a little block, and I have my little powder tool. Since I'm going to be embossing with white embossing powder, I'm going to go ahead and go over all of my little cuts with this powder, because when you do heat emboss with the white embossing powder on black, sometimes it sticks, and so you want to try to eliminate as much embossing powder from into the places that you don't want it to stick as possible to make it easier. So once I get that all done, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment with my Versamark here, and go ahead and use this Stampendous Ultra Detail white embossing powder. See how it does stick a little bit? So the powder doesn't work 100%, but it does help. And then what I'll do is I will take a little paintbrush and then just kind of brush off the edges of what I don't want to stick, and then I'll go ahead and I'll use my embossing tool to heat emboss the sentiment. So once I have it to where I think it's going to be pretty good, I'll go ahead and let me move my embossing powder out of the way, and I'll go ahead and use my heat tool. And there you go. So there is the little embossed sentiment. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera for the rest of these, so I have them all done and ready to go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue some of my layers together. So I know that this piece here is going to fit like that across the top. I'm going to have my square piece and my little front of the fox glued like that. And I know that I'm going to glue the tip of the tail just like that. So these are some of the things that I can go ahead and put together now. For the eyes, all you have to do is get some black cardstock and some scissors and a little glue pen. And so you're just going to cut out using some scrap paper, enough black to cover the eyes, just like this. And then all I do is I put a little glue around the eye like that. And then you just take your little piece of black scrap, stick it right on over just like that, and then now you have your black eyes. And this is going to fit just behind it like that. And so you can use whatever kind of glue that you want to center it on there. And then the same with this. This is going to just go flush right across the bottom of this panel like this, and you'll want to center it, and then the tail. Got my tails done. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the little face like that. And for this piece, I'm going to go ahead, since it's a little bit bigger, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little glue, and that'll dry nicely and secure my little head on there. So now that I have all my little heads put together and my bellies and my tails, I'm going to add the little tiny pieces on here, which are the little ears that I made that are from the tail tips. And so I just got to figure out where I want them to go, because I flipped one, so I have one of one kind and one of the other, so I'll need to get one of each type of tip, one that's flipped. Here we go. So I have one that'll go there and one that'll go there, and so I'll just need to separate them after I ink them so that I get one of each kind on my little ears. Alright, so now that I have all my little Foxy faces all glued together, I'm going to go ahead and do the doodling on the eyes and the nose before I put them on the box, because of course it's a lot easier to write on a flat surface. And this is a Jelly Roll pen, and so basically I'm just going to make sure that it's working. Sometimes you have to run them a little bit to make sure that they're working all right. And then I'm just going to add little dots to the eyes. I just think these little details make all the difference in the world. I think that it really makes your projects come alive. So those are the little dots for the eyes, and then I'm just going to add a little doodle across the little nose, just like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of these little guys. Again, bringing your projects to life, giving it a little bit of an extra something. And you could doodle more than that if you wanted and do the little white gel pen all the way around your projects. But I'm going to do the eyes and the little nose. And of course it does take a little bit, like a minute for the white ink to dry, so you want to make sure that you don't smudge it with anything while you're waiting for it to dry. So don't lay them directly on top of each other. Kind of give it a little bit of room, like I'm giving it, like that. Spread it out. Okay, I'll go ahead and finish all of those little eyes and the little nose. So the last layer that I'm going to adhere is the one that's going to go on the little belly. And it's, like I said, it's a lot easier to do this when it's flat. And so I'm going to go ahead and add my little sentiment strip, and then I'm going to pop the heart up on some foam adhesive, just like that. Okay, so for this I'm going to go ahead and use my ATG gun, since it's a nice flat strip, and then it'll be easy to just do this and then just pop it on there like this. I've got these little squares here, and then what I can do is cut it in half and then put one here and then one on the other side. I think I've got to cut it a little bit more. So there's to give you some good coverage, and then you can go ahead and pull the little adhesive off and then stick it on just like that. And how cute is that for the bottom of the little Foxy? So I'll go ahead and do that to all of my little belly squares here, so that I'll have all my layers nice and glued together before I go ahead and put the whole box. All right, so the very last little embellishment that I'm going to do before we construct this box is to add the little bows. And so I went ahead and made the two different kinds of bows. So I can do one with the little red ribbon and then one with the red and gold. And I'm just going to hot glue them because I find that when it comes with to the fabric onto the paper, I find that the hot glue really does work well for that. And so I know I am crazy with all the different adhesives that I like to use in a project. But seriously, I just kind of go with what is fastest, what in my experience has worked the best in holding my projects together over time. And so that's just kind of how I pull things together. So you don't have to put the bows on there, but I'm making mine little girlies because these are all going to my gal pals, my crafty gal pals. So yes, I'm just waiting for my glue to heat up a little bit, and then once I have it hot enough, I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue, and then go ahead and lay it flat onto my little Foxy head. There you go. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that with all of my little bows. This one's really a skinny one, so it doesn't take much glue at all, just a little tiny dab. And then just don't burn yourself, just press down, and there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and add the bows. So the first thing that I like to do when I fold my boxes is to add the adhesive that I'm going to use for the little strips here. And this is best to be done while your box is laying flat. And so that's basically what I'm going to do. Is I know that these tabs here on the sides of my boxes are going to be folded in and glued to the sides, and so that's the first thing that I'm going to do is add these strips to all of my cuts. Okay, so then what I like to do is I do like to adhere my layers on there while my box is still flat, but what is helpful before I do that is to go ahead and fold in all of the creases just so that you can visualize how your box is going to fold up, and then that way you can be confident with where you are putting all of your layers. Okay, so for this front flap here, this is going to be where the Foxy face goes, and then when it folds up and under like this, this is where the little belly piece is going to go. So this is a good time to go ahead and adhere the belly piece down to the front of this, and you just I'm just eyeballing it. And again, I made my pieces a little bit bigger than the one that they show on the website, so because I wanted my head to be flush with the width of the box. And so you would need to go ahead and adjust those layers as you want. And if you have a silhouette, I think that your cameo, I think that your file might import as designed, but you can always alter the size. So this piece right here is 2 3/4, and like I measured earlier, this is a 3-inch panel. So basically it's going to layer just in the center like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue the fronts, the belly to this flat side of the box right here, because like I said, it's going to fold up like this, and so you want it to go right here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this panel to all of the boxes. All right, so now I have all of those glued on, and then now it's time to glue the little Foxy face on here. And this is pretty easy because it just lines up perfectly with that tip. So you would just put some adhesive here, add this on there, and then it will fold just like that to be the top of the box. So really, really easy. And then so like I said, I did all of my creases. That way I can know, just don't put any adhesive over the top like this to glue it to the top of the box. Does that make sense? Put your adhesive like this. That way you don't have to worry about gluing the ears to the top of the box. Since this is a flat layer, it's easier to do it while it's flat like this. And then as long as your glue is on that bottom piece and not your top, then it will be secured just like it needs to be. And then flip open like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue all the little Foxy faces to the top panel of the box. So now we're to the final steps of the project, and I found that it was easier to glue the tails once the box is put together. And then the last thing would be to add the little Velcro, which is what I used on this little gal here. And so first of all, to get your box together, all you're going to do is, for me this was easier than using the wet glue. This is super strong adhesive, like score tape, but it's from my local scrapbooking store, Scrapbooking Made Simple, and she does her own adhesive, and I find that it's pretty strong. And so you could do liquid glue, you could do whatever glue you want, but since I'm doing so many of these, I found it would be easier if I just used this adhesive. And so basically all you're going to do is you're going to line up each side of the box with the seams, and then you can push down so that it seals on there nicely. And so same thing for this side. Line it up and press down, and then go ahead and do the back part of the box. You'll go ahead and line it up and push in so that it's nice and straight. And the same for this last panel here. Oh, I should have tucked that in first, but no worries, it'll still work. And again, just lining up the sides and then pushing down. And then now we have our little box, our little Foxy box. So cute. Okay, and then to do the Velcro, these I got, I believe, from Walmart, and I thought these were really nice little size for different projects. And so you're going to want to get the front and the back, and I like to put the rough one here on the, one is like has the plastic, and then one has the fabric-y feel to it. And they could be fussy at first because it's all new and it sticks and it doesn't really want to come off. But I'll just go ahead and stick one side in here, and then to line up the bottom, just go ahead and fix my box how I want it to be, nice and centered, and then push down so that that bottom part will stick to the bottom. And then I'll just go ahead and pull it apart so that I could push really hard to get that adhesive to really stick so it doesn't come apart. And then I'll do the same for this piece here. And I just apply a lot of pressure with my thumb, and I'm just kind of pinching it together to really just try to get that to stay, because that's, you don't want it to rip apart. And there, and so then now you have your little box. So cute. And then the last thing that I did was glue the tail. And so again, you can use some of your adhesive, you can use your ATG, although ATG, I don't know, for a piece that could get this done to it, I don't know, it might rip off. So I'm just going to use some of this tacky glue, because I find that for boxes and 3D projects, really just this holds like nothing else that I know. And then you just kind of place it where you want it to go, and then you just kind of have to hold it for a second until all of the bonds form, and the glue dries just a little bit, so probably like 20 seconds. And that's what you would have to do if you're using the liquid glue for the inside seams, is you would need to just apply a little bit of pressure until the glue sets. But there you go, that is the finished box. And so I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up. Thank you guys so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you like my project today. I hope you like the tutorial. And go ahead and click on the link below if you are interested in this SVG. Again, it's from the SVG Cutting Files shop. So have a great day, everyone, and happy crafting. Until next time, bye-bye.